What would you do if you caught your wife in the arms of your father, the very man who taught you right from wrong? In the deeply religious town of Al-Zahir, where every action is weighed against the scales of tradition and faith, how does one reconcile the unimaginable? Can forgiveness find a place where betrayal has shattered the sacred bonds of family? As the desert sun casts long shadows, revealing secrets meant to stay hidden, the lines between sin, shame, and forgiveness blur, challenging the very foundations of a community built on the sanctity of familial loyalty. Before we delve deeper into this web of intrigue, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want us to keep bringing you stories told and untold stories. Now, let's crack this case wide open. In the heart of Saudi Arabia, nestled between the whispering sands of the desert and the ancient cliffs, lies the small town of Al-Zahir. It's a place where traditions run deep and family ties run even deeper. Layla, an 18-year-old with dreams larger than the oasis that borders her town, found herself bound by tradition rather than choice. Her marriage to Kareem, a local businessman 10 years her senior, was decided while she was yet to finish her school studies. Kareem was often away, leaving Layla in the expansive yet confining walls of their family home. Layla's life was marked not by the passage of time, but by the comings and goings of her husband. Each return of his was like a storm brewing on the horizon, anticipated, yet unpredictable. It was during one of his prolonged absences that she found herself seeking the company of her father-in-law, Tariq. Tariq, a pillar of the community, held a presence that was both commanding and comforting. Unlike his son, Tariq had stayed close to home, investing in local enterprises and weaving himself into the fabric of Al-Zahir's daily life. His relationship with Layla had always been cordial, until it wasn't. Their first significant conversation happened by chance. Layla was tending to the small garden under the scorching midday sun when Tariq joined her, taking refuge from the heat under the shade of the date palms. "You handle the loneliness better than most would," Tariq remarked, his voice a blend of curiosity and respect. Layla, surprised by the observation, paused. "It's not handling if you have no other choice," she replied, her voice a mix of defiance and resignation. Tariq chuckled softly. "Perhaps, but even the caged bird finds a way to sing. Tell me, Layla, what would you sing about if you could?" The question hung in the air, heavier than the heat. Layla thought about it, her hands buried in the cool soil. "Freedom," she whispered, not sure she meant for him to hear. Tariq looked at her, really looked at her. For the first time, it was as if he saw the stifled spirit of the young woman before him, yearning to break free. "Freedom is a precious thing," he mused. "Often it is where we least expect it, within the confines of our own heart and mind." From then on, their conversations delved deeper, exploring topics from literature to the dreams that Layla harbored and seldom shared with anyone else. As weeks turned into months, the stolen moments with Tariq became Layla's refuge. He listened to her thoughts on life, on the universe, on the stifling traditions that bound her. She listened to his tales of youth, of mistakes made and lessons learned. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of gold and purple, Layla found the courage to voice a hidden thought. "Do you ever wish things were different, Tariq?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "In what way?" Tariq responded, his eyes fixed on the fading light. "In any way. In every way. To live a life chosen, not assigned." Layla's voice was firmer now, her eyes bright with the fierceness of her yearning. Tariq turned to face her, his expression solemn. "Every day," he confessed. And it was then that Layla saw the chains that bound him too were just as heavy, just as invisible. Their conversations, once a comfort, now ignited a spark neither of them could smother. They began meeting more frequently, always in secret, always with the unspoken understanding of their mutual discontent. Word of their meetings eventually began to spread, whispers floating through the dusty streets of Al-Zahir, like the sand carried by the wind. The town watched, the elders speculated, and Kareem remained oblivious until he wasn't. Kareem returned unexpectedly on a night when the moon was just a sliver in the sky, its light too faint to guide him. But it was enough for him to see the figures of Layla and Tariq, their silhouettes merging in an embrace that was too intimate, too desperate to be mistaken. The sight struck Kareem like a physical blow, his heart thundering in his chest as a storm of betrayal and rage gathered within him. As Kareem stood in the shadow of his own home, the weight of what he had seen anchoring him to the spot, he knew that life as he knew it had just shattered. With the rising of the sun, Al-Zahir would awaken to a scandal that would shake the very foundations of its society. What will Kareem do? How will Layla face the consequences of her actions? And what of Tariq, caught between his duty and his desires? The answers lie tangled in the looming tempest, waiting for the dawn to reveal the remnants of so many broken dreams. As dawn broke over Al-Zahir, the silent streets bore witness to the fallout of the previous night's revelations. Kareem, grappling with his shock and anger, confronted Layla and Tariq. The air was thick with accusations and denials, but the truth was undeniable. Tariq, usually composed, was at a loss, his gaze shifting between his son and Layla, the weight of his decisions bearing down on him. Layla, tears streaming down her face, pleaded for understanding, but her words fell on deaf ears. The betrayal was too deep, the wound too fresh. Kareem's wrath turned from his wife to his father, and in a heated moment, he ordered Tariq out of his house. Word of the scandal spread like wildfire. The community's reaction was swift and unforgiving. Layla faced a harsh judgment of those she had once considered neighbors and friends. Isolated and shunned, she sought solace in the solitude of her home, barred from the lives she had once been part of. Tariq, stripped of his dignity and respect, wandered the edges of the town, a pariah in his own land. His relationship with his son irreparably damaged, he struggled with the consequences of his actions. Kareem, tormented by the betrayal and public disgrace, found himself at a crossroads. The anger and hurt clouded his judgment, pushing him toward a decision that would change the course of their lives forever. He filed for divorce, a move that shocked Layla and set the final stage of their estrangement. In a last attempt to salvage her dignity, Layla confronted Kareem, begging him to reconsider, to think of what they had once shared. But Kareem, hardened by the betrayal, turned away, leaving her standing alone amidst the ruins of their life together. As the sun set over Al-Zahir, the dust settled on the day's turmoil. Layla, now divorced and disgraced, faced an uncertain future. Tariq, having lost his family and his standing, left town a broken man. Kareem, sitting amidst the remnants of his shattered home, pondered the cost of his pride and his vengeance. The silence of the house echoed back at him, a stark reminder of what his anger had cost. Layla, determined to rise from the ashes of her past, decided to leave Al-Zahir behind. With nothing left to lose, she ventured into the wider world, seeking a new beginning, a place where her story would be hers to write. The town of Al-Zahir, forever changed by the events, slowly began to heal, but the memories of the scandal lingered, a cautionary tale whispered under the breath of the wind. What choices lie ahead for a son betrayed, a father remorseful, and a community rocked by a scandal? Will the bonds of family and faith prove strong enough to mend the deep rifts caused by hidden desires? Or will the foundations of their lives crumble under the weight of uncovered truths? How will Al-Zahir move forward when its very pillars of virtue have been called into question?